I was talking a while ago about getting stuff from scrap dealers to do with parrots, the barrel down the middle of the parrot. This is a piece I've just picked up from a scrap dealer. I was lucky to grab that. It's 4-inch copper tube, copper pipe. As you can see, it's come out of a building. It's been a water pipe somewhere, and it's got a ton of verdigris, green oxide down there. So I've just nipped the ends off with an angle grinder. Made a square paper template and run a line around there and just manually docked that off to clean it up. And what I'll do with that is I've got my trusty buff, 4-inch buff on the end of my battery drill. I'll just clean up the inside of that. I may have to soak it with some acid or something to clean it up properly, but that's going to be the bottom of a column. It's a nice straight clean piece of quite heavy pipe. I'll just tap a ferrule on either end and then braze it on, and I've got a really nice initial copper column for my still, which I don't have at the moment. And the reason I use copper straight off the still kettle is because you get the vapor reaction with it. I've got my steel jacketed heavy condenser I'm building over here, for instance. Just pickling that up. That's the internal there, and if it shows up on here is copper, and the outside is all stainless steel. I'm just going to silver solder all the tubes into that, but the vapor will come down, hit the copper there, and all the internal tubes are all copper. But for straight out of the still kettle, whether I pack it or not, it's going to get contact with the inside of this, the alcohol vapor. Be running up and down there if it's in reflux, or if it's just a pot still even. It's going to be it's going to condense and run down the inside of that to an extent. So I've got my alcohol copper contact in there, which again I'm real happy with, because I butchered the last piece of nice copper I had to make jackets for things like condensers, which is really overkill because you've only got water contact with. If it was a condenser jacket like the stainless steel on here, you've only got the water contacting with the stainless steel. There's no alcohol vapor contact, so it looks nice, but it's really not practical in terms of what it costs for the copper, the pretty copper outside jacket, considering you could just use stainless steel. Other thing I should have mentioned doing this sort of stuff is a mask. If you're metal polishing, especially with copper oxides and all that kind of stuff, you really want to have a decent mask. I've had this one for ages. It's a 3M respirator. I use it for all sorts of things, but when you've got this buff here on the drill, which I use for buffing out the cores of pipes like this, that green verdigris oxide in there is really nasty. You don't want it anywhere near your lungs, and there will be a huge amount of that coming out of there as a really fine powder. So mask stops that. This is my roughly a metre long piece of 4-inch copper pipe. The buffing did very little to get the verdigris out of this inside of it, and the outsides, needs to be tarted up a bit. So what it's going to do is throw together a quick trough and line it with some plastic, and I can pour my vinegar in there. The trough will be almost the same size as the pipe here, and I won't need as much vinegar as I would if I've got a bigger sort of trough or container to try and immerse it in. I'll just custom make one just to fit that thing at the moment. So I've got my trough that I knocked together out of that timber I showed you. Got a bit of polythene lining it, and it's nicely covered with vinegar. It's got a 20 litre 5-gallon pail there that had my pickling vinegar solution in it. I'll leave that for a day or two, and then I'll come back and clean it up. All the verdigris should be dissolved, or very, very soft anyway, whatever's left in it there, and that outside should come up fairly bright. It might need a bit of a buff afterwards, but it'll be a lot less effort after it's been pickled. What I'll do now is I'll just I've taken this outside, done it outside on my what's normally my distilling bench there, because obviously you have 20 litres of vinegar leak inside, and the kitchen's just going to smell of the equivalent of 20 litres of cat piss. So I'll avoid that. I'll do it all outside here, and I'll just flip the top over so the rain doesn't fill up that trough, and then I'll put a couple of boards on it. And here's my trough with a lid on it, and I will wait on there to stop it coming off if it gets a bit windy. Like I say, I'll leave that for a day or two, and come back and show you what the pipe's like once it's taken out. And here's the piece of copper 4-inch. About a day and a bit after I took it back out of the vinegar tank, and you can see it's come up a lot cleaner. It's still got powder and stuff over the surface, and inside here there's still a bit of verdigris. I mean, I could probably have left this in for another day or two, but the verdigris that is there is just powder now. That'll come out with a buff, as opposed to the real hard sort of ceramic layer that it was. It's well and truly dealt to. So we'll go ahead and see what that comes up like now when we give it some love with the buff. I'm just on to the point where I'm starting to polish this bit of copper up. See the difference here between where I've started polishing it with a rag and polish, and back into here where it just had the abrasive buffing wheel run over it. So that's cleaned up most of the imperfections and scratches and things out of it. There's a few dents in there that aren't going to come out, but that's to be expected for a piece of second-hand copper tube. So I'll go ahead and keep buff the whole thing up like that, and then I'll weld a couple of ferrules in here, and that'll become the immediate column straight out of the still kettle. And this is my new copper column. I've polished it all up. It's got a ferrule, stainless steel 4-inch ferrule, silicon bronze brazed on either end there. That's not coming off anytime soon. That's in keeping with my new mantra of only using silicon bronze for all my copper to stainless joins, if possible. It's working out quite well so far, and that's going to go straight on top of my kettle as the first column section on either still that I run, because it's going to give me the copper vapor, alcohol vapor contact. And here that I want, whether it's just open as a pot still or whether I've packed it out with mesh for a reflux column. But yeah, that's where that went. Go and visit your scrap dealers if you're getting into this sort of stuff. They're going to be your best buddy. Make sure they don't go thirsty.